Hash Rate is sponsored by Ledger. With the announcement of Ledger Flex and Ledger Stacks, Ledger gives you the best security on the planet for your crypto and identity. Ledger Flex and Stacks drive an e-ink screen with the same secure chip that's in your credit card and passport, except instead of protecting the secrets of banks and governments, Ledger protects your secrets and your private keys. Ledger supports Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and more than 200 other tokens. The secure touchscreen, plus the Ledger Live app, means that whether you're buying your very first Bitcoin or doing your 2000th swap, you can do it securely and easily with your Ledger. And as always, use my link, shop.ledger.com/hashrate in the show notes to get the very best price whenever you buy a Ledger Flex or Stacks. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hash Rate. My name is Mark Jeffrey. Today is the Sonic Spectacular, and with me to explain all things Sonic is Blake Hooper of Equalizer. Hello, Blake.
Hey, how are you there, Mark? Thanks for having me on. Thanks for everyone there listening. Good to have a quick chat.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on the show because we've had you in the past. So, but today, and we're going to talk a little bit about Equalizer, but today I want to focus on all the new stuff coming out of Sonic, the artist formerly known as Fantom. And I personally have been following Fantom for years. I played in sort of the early DeFi games over there quite a bit back during DeFi summer. And then Fantom had sort of a fall from grace. The multi-chain hack occurred, which basically depleted the value out of all things on Fantom for the most part, including stablecoins. So like Tether, USDC, et cetera, right? You're going to say something, Blake?
No, definitely.
Yeah.
No,
So
I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it was terrible, right? So it was catastrophic. And so, but even while that was going on, Fantom, the team over at Fantom, have been working very hard to build a next generation blockchain, something which can deliver realistically 10,000 transactions per second with 1 second finality, which is kind of, which is unheard of, I believe, in the EVM blockchain space. And now they're getting ready to launch Sonic, which is this new, Mach 2, if you will, version of the Fantom chain rebranded. And there's a lot of new activity around that, including a new stablecoin, new canonical stablecoin, USDC, as well as, a bunch of other developments. So tell us what you know about the Sonic relaunch and how you feel about all this, Blake.
Yeah, so I think it's come at a perfect time, right? We're in the early stages of what we think is, the real start of this bull run. So from my perspective, I think they've timed it really well, where this launch is obviously imminent and it's looking to be around the November, December. Okay, so what they're looking to do effectively is take the Sonic technology which they've built to replace what at the moment FTM, the network is called Opera. Okay, so the Sonic technology is what's been built to do these 10,000 transactions per second, the less than a second to finality. That's all been built, and now it's sort of in a bit of a testnet phase anyway. It's been launched onto the Opera network with a lot of the nodes upgraded to that client now. What we're going to see, and the beauty of Sonic, is it has a gateway. So it has the Sonic gateway alongside it, which effectively will be allowing it to interact with other blockchains. So what we're going to see is we're going to see a layer one with layer two sort of abilities, so to speak. So it's going to be settling those transactions, then posting to Ethereum. Now, I'm not hugely technical, but then posting to Ethereum. So we're effectively then able to get the Ethereum assets across as well. But I think it's not only limited to having Ethereum, we can have other chains in. So it can be a layer two to, say, Bitcoin and things like that by using the Sonic Gateway along the chain. So they've sort of built it to have this expandability. So now you're going to have this layer that has 1 second finality that can now basically, in a lot of ways, they're saying, replace those L2 requirements because you've now got a better, faster, decentralized blockchain that can process these transactions, all of the ones that have been doing on these layer 2s as well, and then post But having the native asset class of Ethereum to be able to be posted onto the Sonic chain. So as you said earlier, we had the multi-chain issue where the bridge issuers are in control of these tokens, and effectively you saw what can happen there. And that's where they're really addressing that problem, so that now, it's going to open up huge possibilities. Because in my opinion, as a DEX, you need Ethereum on the network. You need to have that, to basically have that assurance that you have actual Ethereum, not multi-chain issuance of Ethereum. So now that opens up DeFi, where you've got this super fast blockchain that can process anything. And DeFi is one class, but now you can use Ethereum on the chain for everything else. And then your Sonic token, or the S token, which will be released, will be that gas.
Yeah, so I did notice in the new documentation about Sonic that they have something called they pitch it as it can be a gateway to Ethereum, and which is like what you were just talking about. So it's not a bridge, this gateway tech. It's somehow something else. Do you know? I mean, we've seen several approaches at this, right? We've seen, Thorchain is sort of taking an approach to this where they do a cross-chain DEX effectively. So they're actually swapping native assets across chains. So they get rid of the bridge hack danger where the assets are sort of locked and frozen in cryogenic hibernation on the original chain and then reissued on the other chain. But if somebody gets into this pile of stuff, then this stuff no longer has any backing, which is what happened to Fantom back in the day, right? So do you know how this works, this new technology?
My understanding is it's quite novel technology in itself. The bit that I know is that they're using the Sonic tech that they've used to build the blockchain to then basically build on top this gateway. So the gateway is going through audits at the moment. I think there's 3 auditing firms, to the best of my knowledge, that are, and basically that's the reason why it's not out yet. Like, it's what I've been told is that its audits are what we're waiting for. Yeah, so they're doing their due diligence there to make sure that everything's correct and everyone's looking across it properly. But the gateway itself is basically that layer in between that will allow you to connect to any blockchain, I believe.
So sort of like a layer 0 sort of thing, it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like to me. And again, I'm not technical, but from what I'm hearing, the gateway is the powerhouse behind this whole system. And it really takes it to the next level. To me, being able to get Ethereum on chain is huge, right? We need those type of assets across so that we can expand upon. No one wants to deal with a wrapped version that came through a bridge, right? So.
No, nobody wants. I mean, and if you're Fantom, you've got to be incredibly sensitive about chain or about bridge issues, right? Like, that is just a nightmare that's fresh in your mind, right? So I love the fact that they get burned so hard by that in a way, because it means they are extra cautious and extra, interested in making sure that never, ever, ever happens again, right? So
exactly, and look, I think just to touch on the multi-chain issue as well, it wasn't just Fantom. It was everyone, but Fantom was worst affected. So they came off the worst, but a lot of chains lost value through this multi-chain issue. It just happened to be that Fantom was the worst affected.
Yeah, well, I think Fantom had the most wrapped tokens that had come through the multi-chain bridge by far out of anyone, right?
Yeah. And I think there's a lot more tokens that didn't get affected on the multi-chain bridge. It was just happened to be Fantom that got targeted the hardest at first. So it was done.
Well, I do know that USDC, they issued a canonical stablecoin on Fantom, now Sonic. So that bridge, there is no bridge. USDC just issues directly on the Fantom chain, right? So when you're swapping your coins
on Sonic. That's the plan, I believe, but because the USDC.E is what I think you're referring to, and that in itself is upgradable, I believe, to become USDC on the Sonic launch. So at the moment, the entry points to Fantom, which is a big point of what we're going to get by going forward with the new chain, is that the entry point at the moment is like through Axelar or Layer 0 or Wormhole. But like Layer 0 and Wormhole, you've got to come through Ethereum.
Yeah.
Axelar, you can come through all these other chains, but you're best to swap into like a USDC. So at the moment there is a bottleneck, and I think that is going to be solved with the new gateway. That's a big change that we're looking forward to. That's going to be huge for anyone using Fantom, that they can now get to the chain easier. Something we talk about all the time is we need that ease of joining the chain, and that's where we're going to really improve, because at the moment there is a bit of a bottleneck. As soon as we get the Sonic gateway and Sonic launch the chain, we're gonna see a lot of that go away.
Yeah, Axelar Squid Router, pretty awesome. I have to say, I use Squid Router a lot, and that thing has saved my life a bunch of times. So I'm definitely a fan of that company and tech for sure. So.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. The only thing is, like, you want to bring ETH to a chain, right? Like this. So this is the way I think about it. It's like,
yep.
You find this new meme coin or this new token that's launched on this chain, and you want to get across fast. You want to come across, but you've already got Ethereum sitting somewhere on maybe Base or maybe sitting there on Ethereum. So you're like, oh, I want to come across. So the last thing you want to do is get it into USDC, come across, then buy the token, or put it into the native gas token, because you're losing in all this slippage because there's not a lot of liquidity on that other chain. So what you want is to come across in Ethereum and then have a really, really vibrant Ethereum system, token, like economy rolling on that chain, so that you can now go into it. And it just will change the dynamics in so many ways, because that is one thing you want to do. You want easy bridging. You don't want to have to swap to come in. You want to be coming in Ethereum most probably, because that's the one that sort of rolls across all the chains, and then buying your token from Ethereum. And then you can roll into the native token like S and stuff like that later on down the track as you get more familiar with the ecosystem, or you play whatever you're looking to play, if it's if it's trading or whatever.
So you mentioned something earlier I want to go back to. So you mentioned that S or Sonic can function as a Bitcoin layer 2. Now what do we know about that? And when you say Bitcoin layer 2, is it just Bitcoin or Bitcoin assets like runes and BRC20s and things like that? Do you think that those will be transportable as well?
Look, the only thing I know is that it's compatible to take that type of input. So I would assume that it's not only like limited to Bitcoin. If you can take on the Ethereum network into it, the Bitcoin network, you can take in any network. You could potentially take in the Solana network. Who knows? So my limited understanding on how the gateway works, because it's very closed off sort of tech, what they're telling us on exactly how it works, I think until it's audited and out, is that it sounds like me like this gateway is this link into these other chains. So it doesn't matter what you're linking into. It's the tech is there to do it, and I think it's pretty cool, because that allows you. Imagine if you can have Bitcoin attachment and Ethereum attachment, like, sort of changes the game a little bit, doesn't it?
It changes it a lot. And I think, so one of the areas I've been spending a lot of my time in and past or recent hash rate shows is looking at Bitcoin native things quite a bit more seriously. In particular, most recently, something called Fractal, which is coming from Binance and Unisat. And it's basically a Bitcoin layer 2 that produces more copies of Bitcoin. That's why it's like a fractal of Bitcoin, right? So the fractal chain is proof of work, and it works exactly like Bitcoin, except it has 30-second blocks, so it's a little bit faster. And it's got opcat enabled. So theoretically, you can do smart contracts on top of that using opcat. Now, we haven't seen. I'm not going to get into what the state of the art is there, but so far I've not seen any opcat apps to date. I hear that they're coming, but I haven't seen them yet. But the idea is that this is a more honest Bitcoin layer 2, because it doesn't stray from the core Bitcoin proof of work vision, right? Whereas any of these other proof of stake coin chains, there is ultimately a cabal of humans which can rewrite the chain if they all colluded, right? So, which you theoretically cannot do in proof of, I know it's a religious issue. I'm just laying out that's their thesis, right? So, but on the other extreme of this whole kind of continuum, I would say Solana exists, where they're pitching us on this vision of 1 million transactions per second. Of course, we all know that that's extremely highly centralized and dependent on very beefy specialized hardware, where at any given block, one giant machine has full control of the chain and then just passes it along to the next machine. So that's the other extreme of this vision. In a world where you have these sort of two extremes, and if you're an app and you like, you just want to have the most transactions per second, you're not really a purist one way or the other. You have no religious conviction blockchain wise. Fantom seems to be a sort of, lukewarm in the middle, or Sonic lukewarm in the middle option. So in a Fantom and Fractal, if in a Fractal and Solana world, where does Sonic fit into that? You see what I'm saying? Like, if you just want the speed, why wouldn't you just go to Solana?
Yeah, and I agree. So what you're saying is a good point. If you're looking to have this huge compute power, this huge centralized sort of machine to push out those speeds, I think you're taking away from why we're all in the space, and that is decentralization. Which then takes me to the point, which is what I've also seen banded around Sonic, and this is a huge part, right? So Sonic is a decentralized layer 2, or it's not a layer 2, but it's going to operate and be able to work alongside as, so to speak, a decentralized layer 2. Now that is huge, because at the moment, if you're posting a transaction on one of these layer 2s, you need to wait for the finality on Ethereum, okay? So your transaction can be reversed at any point unless Ethereum, it's finalized on Ethereum, which we know takes about, 20, 30 minutes. So what you're getting here is a finalized transaction that can't be altered or changed as soon as you do it on the chain. So you're getting that finality. So I think what we're doing here is we're seeing that advantage of, like, so many opportunities. Like, if you want to come on and you want to push an application, it's very risky to not have that complete finality, right? As we build out and grow, in my opinion, where Sonic fits in, and it's that new tech stack, right? Sonic Labs have been building throughout this whole bear market. A lot of these other chains, they haven't really released anything, right? There's so many layer 2s popping up. There's these layer 1s that are spin-ups, and they're basically just deploying another layer 1 or a fork or whatever, and now we're a layer 1. We've got incentives here, come over here. What Sonic have done in the background, through the guys of Bernard Schultz, who, like, this guy's written his own language. He's
a smart dude. I've seen him speak. Yeah.
Like, we're talking about the top-level devs. I had an interview with Bernard, and we went through it. And, like, we've got devs from Google, Microsoft, Oracle. All the top players in the field are working here that have come from, like, sort of that traditional space, are working on the Sonic tech. So it's the tech stack probably doesn't get enough credit. And I think that's so the next part is the marketing of it, to make sure that the adoption is there. So you can have the greatest tech. If you don't have adoption, then it's all for a waste, isn't it? But what I like about Sonic is that they've continued to develop this tech. They've come out, in this, what we're seeing as potentially the next bull run, and they're pushing the new tech, whereas other people are just sitting there. It's the same old chain, right? Or we've deployed a new chain. So that's where I think it really takes the space in their building, right? And I love that. It's like, do you want to back builders? Are you in it for, obviously we're in it for, we believe in the tech and we think that there will be financial gains, or we wouldn't be buying tokens. But at the end of the day, we're also in it for the decentralization and for the and for the tech, right? We think that it's a new advancement in the technology space.
Yeah, so I think I'm just listening to what you say here. I would summarize what you said as, if you want pure decentralization, right? Which I know Andre has spoken about, Sonic validators being run on Raspberry Pis and things like that. So very sort of small machines. So preserving that ability to run on little tiny machines, validators, and true decentralization. So you could have, millions of these validators potentially, and yet still achieve block finality within a second. So you emphasize the importance of block finality, but also the speed with which you can attain that block finality. Sonic is pitching they can do it within a second. And that's probably about as, in 10,000 transactions per second is probably about as good of a balancing of the blockchain trilemma as you can do while still preserving actual decentralization. And Solana just, it's like in Star Trek when they made the Genesis planet and they use proto matter, right? And it's like, oh, sure, you can build whatever you want if you have proto matter, right? And the Genesis planet ultimately blew up, right? So I view Solana as sort of using proto matter to cheat and kind of get their way. But it's still, it's okay. I mean, some people are totally fine with that, and some applications will be completely fine with cheating. They don't care. But if you do truly care still about decentralization, Sonic is probably the optimal way to go at this point. And I agree with you. They have been building through the bear market consistently with a multi-year vision, which they've never wavered from. And it is meant to be a giant quantum leap forward in blockchain tech. And I don't see any other teams really doing that to the degree and with the smarts that I see Fantom and Sonic doing it. So yeah, we agree there. So I just want to move on to a couple other chains because CoinMarketCap. Sorry, did you have a comment on that? I'll let you speak.
No, just because you mentioned the Raspberry Pi, and I thought it was an important fact that we should dive into just quickly.
Yeah.
Is that there is some changes to the way that it's going to increase the adoption of LSDs and stuff like that on the network because effectively we've got a Raspberry Pi that can run the node. Then we only have a 50,000 S token staking requirement moving forward. So the entry level has been brought right down. Yeah. So you're not going to have, I think it was 500,000 FTM at one stage. So it was a large financial investment. Now for 50,000 you can run it. The best bit about it as well is it's 14-day lockup period. So we're going from a 1 year to get max to now 14 days. So what that does is it allows people to start to really play the LSD market. So you can come on now and earn yield while allocating your tokens, knowing that within 14 days you can take them back and still get the full blockchain reward plus any validator rewards there as well. So you're effectively now getting that really, that DeFi space is really going to open up. And I think that's a huge thing in the changes of the Sonic network going forward.
So when you say you said LST, liquid stake token, is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, like an LST, yeah. So you're effectively able to stake your token, and then you will have like the
get your coat check token, which basically anyone that has their coat check token can go get your coat, otherwise known as your stake tokens.
Yeah. So effectively, like you'll put your S token down on a validator, so it'll be approving. And they'll give you back, a token for that you will then be able to sell on the market. But you'll see that the arbitrage will work there. Sorry, so there won't be like big discrepancies because in 14 days they can unlock those tokens. So there's no real bank run risk. As opposed to at the moment, if you do that, you take away this stake token, then you pair it in a say a DEX or something like that. If everyone wanted their tokens back, they got to wait a year to unlock. Otherwise, there's penalties and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah.
So definitely a completely different economic scenario. So, CoinMarketCap did a pretty interesting post, which Michael Kong, the CEO of Sonic Fantom, reposted, and he put at the top "Sonic Killers." And implying that Fantom or Sonic would be a Solana killer. Did I say Sonic killer? Solana killer. So, and so CoinMarketCap listed a number of chains, of which Sonic was one of them. But they also listed Sui Network, and Sui supposedly has 297,000 transactions per second. I don't know if it has block finality within that time. My guess is no. Aptos, same thing, 160,000 transactions per second. Sei Network, SEI, 20,000 transactions per second. But they do specifically pitch 390 millisecond finality. So what do you think of some of these other people that are sort of in the mix on this as well? Are they legit competitors, or are they, not nearly as good a quality as what we're going to see from Sonic?
Look, I think what it comes down to is you can put anything on a piece of paper, and that's what our conversations have been about with the foundation, and also what I've seen them posting. So a lot of what we see is what comes out as information, spread on social media and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, these claims are all great, but are they doing it? And that's where that's where the truth lies, right? Like 297,000 per second. But it's what type of transaction? Like, are we talking about like a transfer? Are we talking about an on-chain contract interaction? So, it really is dependent on the transaction type. When they label it, Fantom are on the cautious side, I believe. And at the same time, these are tested times that they know that they can achieve in a real-world scenario with proper data rolling in of what they're already seeing. And then replicated out what they already see on chain as the average type data usage, or transaction usage. So I think a lot. Claims can be anything. I can say I can run faster than Usain Bolt until I actually get on the track and run exit, right? So you might think I can. At the end of the day, it comes down to the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah. So, all right, let's turn our attention now to the ecosystem. I am very familiar with the old ecosystem of Fantom, all the haunted house themed things like Spooky Swap and Spirit Swap and Beethoven X, but the it's basically Beethoven as a skull kind of thing, right? So the haunted house stuff is kind of going away, thankfully, I think. And Sonic it just feels a lot more powerful. The branding is just way better. It feels more serious. It's more appropriate to it's more representative of the actual engineering prowess that has gone into the new Sonic technology and the brains that are sort of working on this stuff. But I look at how they're marketing the new chain and the new ecosystem. Let's talk a little bit about Equalizer. Tell us a little bit about first about what you do and how you fit into the new ecosystem, and then I'm going to ask you some more general questions about it, about the ecosystem in a second. But go ahead, tell us about Equalizer.
Yeah, so effectively, we're a liquidity hub, the number one liquidity hub on Fantom, and we give all of the fees back, 100% of the fees, and in our case, we have an incentives market as well. Those incentives are also given to the V equal token lockers. So anyone that creates one of our financial NFTs is effectively earning 100% of the revenue that comes through from our liquidity hub that services Fantom. So we have not only tokens, standard DEX pairings, concentrated liquidity, but some vaults where people can deposit their tokens and earn. But effectively what we do is we send equal to these liquidity providers, and then the fees are then given back. So it completes like this flywheel effect that ensures that there's buying demand for the token because people want to earn all of the fees that come through from Equalizer. We're integrating other things as well. So it's not only your standard, like we have lots of different integrated types of liquidity from lenders. We're sort of moving into a bit of that space as well. We have some of those like GLP pools that are integrated as well. So basically, if revenue comes through, we can give that revenue to the V equal holders, and they will, and in turn, we use the equal token. So we're sort of like our own mini economy within Sonic. And I believe in crypto or the whole space in general. It's about community more so than anything as well. So what we do well on the Fantom network currently to move to Sonic is we try and really build in that knowledge and community base. We're always sort of working through, like I know you like to do your research, but we're always looking through and researching together how we can, improve, DeFi as a whole or Equalizer, but also, just that real community-based spirit that is across, the whole world, really. Like, the Discord or the Telegram, not for us Telegram, but the Discord, is firing 24/7. It doesn't really sleep because we have waves of people that come online and are really invested in that community spirit that Equalizer has. So I think that's where we believe is a huge part to focus on within the crypto space. That's how you build that community behind. And the same thing, Bitcoin has its community. Everything has its community. Without the community, you're nothing really.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think you guys have done a great job of building your community. I participated in your Discord, and I've been watching you guys for a long time, as you know, because you've been on the show. So, and I own some VE Equal as well. So I'm in the boat, so to speak.
We've got an emoji with you in the Discord. I was just thinking about it. I have to pull it out.
Oh no! I've seen a couple of. It's been really. I've gone into a couple of these Discords lately where they have emojis based on me, and a couple of them, and one of them pops up, and I didn't know it was there, and all of a sudden I'm like, did I tweet that, or did I post something, and I didn't realize, and I realized somebody else is using a slice of my head from somewhere else. So it's been it's pretty amusing. So anyway, so I do have a question. So actually, let's just talk about the ecosystem in general. So I've been watching Sonic and how they've been positioning the launch of their, Mach 2 version of Fantom known as Sonic. They seem to be just looking at the tweets. They're always about things like, the Sonic boom is here. We have a bounty program. We're announcing gems and games. It feels very sort of game oriented. Like that seems to be the center of gravity of where they're pushing this new chain, not so much DeFi. Is that your impression, and what do you know about that?
No, look, I think that there's a huge DeFi focus. They've just brought on a really, really good DeFi specialist. The foundation or Sonic Labs is expanding at a rapid rate like we haven't seen before. One of the big things with Sonic Labs is they have a huge runway. We know that.
They do.
Andre broadcast that a long time ago. And they're using
it's like a 30-year runway is what I remember.
30-year runway, but I can't even name how many BDs we now have. Like I think that's like 300-400% more than we had before. DeFi specialists, the marketing team's expanded. You're seeing that great content come out of Twitter, that community building. Everyone's pitching in, and they're working even harder as well. We've got Joe, the new marketing CMO that was appointed as well. We've got that huge development team on the background. So I think we were dev heavy in the past. And now they've started to put on the other sides or silos that are required, or hopefully they're working together, but that are required to turn the engine. There's definitely a huge focus on DeFi simply from the partners they're bringing across, the allocation to ensure that is a vibrant ecosystem. And yes, there's game opportunities, there's all sorts of opportunities. But the Sonic Gems program is more about gamification, I would suggest, and also incentivizing the adoption of these applications. So what we're seeing here is this huge airdrop focus. And I think it's undercooked from a lot of people, the potential here. Like there's 190.5 million S tokens allocated to the airdrop. So I think actually I saw a post come out the other day. It will be at the previous all-time high. Let's say we get there, it would be the third largest airdrop that has ever been pushed out there in the market out of anything. At the current price, we're looking at $100 million worth of stimulation coming through this airdrop. And it might have dropped a little bit today, the price with the total market, but roughly it's about $100 million currently. And I think, we're looking at seeing, some crazy price appreciation across the broader market in general over this period as we run into the US election and all the market. We were seeing BlackRock buy up all this Bitcoin like every day. And we want. I think we all think we're gonna see this huge. So we're gonna see this airdrop of $200, $300, $400 million come out onto this S network, and that is going to stimulate, liquidity, people to come on and play with any DApps that are deploying and a part of this program. They're also, which a lot of people are probably under or sort of missing at the moment, is they're also doing this for some Opera users as well. So there is an allocation of this that is going to go to reward the OGs or the current operators on the network. So I think, anyone that's not sort of farming a little bit at the moment on current Fantom and ready to get crazy when it goes to Sonic is really missing out, because there's a huge amount of incentive. And we know what happens when these incentives come out. We've seen it with these other networks. People flock in, Liquidity flocks in, dApps deploy. I really think the Sonic boom is exactly what we're going to see as this program goes forward. And still yet, I don't think people are quite seeing the potential. It takes a little bit to kick in, and sometimes you need to see it happen in front of your eyes. And then I think you'll see this huge adoption as people go crazy for these gems.
Yeah, I'm still a big Fantom holder. I've sold a little bit of it, but the bulk of it I've kept all this time. I rode it all the way up to 350, rode it back down, but I just never sold, right, for the most part. I think I sold like 5% of it. That's about it. The rest of it I still hold. So I'm a believer. Don't stop believing. Just saw Journey a couple nights ago. That's why it's in my head. Anyway, so but yeah, no, I think great things are in store, but I'm not really playing around. So you think basically I should probably be doing more in the incentive program that I'm doing. It just looks like a lot of work, right? And so I'm sort of like, I don't feel like doing all that work. But
you were talking about the Galaxy program. That there in itself, I'm not sure exactly how that works, but it could be, I've been told, a multiplier on your airdrop. So let's just say you were slated to get X amount of tokens, and you get a 1.2 modifier. Then that could be huge. And look, depending on the size of your airdrop, who knows if it's $1,000 or $10,000. So I'm probably doing that program. I know it's a bit of work, but I'm doing that program just in case. But I think where the other, like, it's easy to interact on Fantom and put some liquidity here, or buy an NFT or whatever, or hold some liquid staked tokens or something like that. Like there's these opportunities for you to already participate in that area of the network. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Like I'm expecting a big airdrop, right? I've done 20,000, like 30, 40, 50,000. I don't know how many transactions on Fantom.
Yeah, I've done a shit ton of transactions on Fantom over years, over like 4 or 5 years. So all my wallet addresses, if they're basing the airdrop partially on that, I should do very well. So, but if I have to run here to this site, collect this gem, and then, wear a green hat on a Thursday, to earn 3 more gems, I just don't want to do it. This bottom line. I don't even care. I don't even care if I give up the $10,000. I don't give a shit. That's sort of where I'm at. So,
I'm already playing on the network. I need to promote it anyway, and for me, it makes sense to do it. But I agree. For some people, it's a lot of work, and I'll try and find 10 grand somewhere else. Or
exactly.
It's not worth bending over to pick up 10 grand.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on. I actually got a question from the audience. So I let the people know on X that I was going to be doing this show with you, and question from Block Muncher. Is there a legit yield auto compounder on Fantom? And I think the answer is Beefy, but do you know of anything? Is that correct? Or is there something else?
Yeah, so there is Beefy. Beefy is, across, I think it's 18 chains. They're probably going to have a go at me and say it's more than 18 chains. But so Beefy are the largest compounder. I think they actually overtook Yearn in my last conversation with them. So
wow.
They have vaults on Fantom, and they're going to be huge coming into Sonic, I believe. So Foundation have a pretty good relationship there, or Sonic Labs, with the Beefy team. So I think that they'll be pretty keen to get moving. The other one is Matrix. So you've got Matrix, which is an auto compounder that's sort of still building there on Fantom. They've been with us since day one, so there is some opportunities to auto compound with them. And then you go into like your Taros and your Impermaxes as well. So we can't leave them out. They're the leveraged yield farm where you can go in there and leverage your positions, but you don't even have to leverage them. They still are an auto compounder as well as such. So, there's a few operating currently at the moment. I'll probably miss some But
Yeah.
you just need to, you need to sort of know where to look, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty good summary. So thank you for that. So just sort of general question about the Fantom or the Sonic tech, and I'm a little bit unclear on this as well. Can let's just say that they are the big winner in all of this, and they sort of pull ahead of Sui and all the other guys out there. Can't all these other guys just come along and copy the tech and the techniques that that Sonic uses, or is that somehow protected and proprietary? Do you know?
I'll be speaking out of school to say I know, but I'm pretty sure it's protected in a lot of ways. Because I think there was some stuff like that went on in the early days where someone took the Fantom blockchain and did that. So I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of IP protections around that sort of stuff. I'll be surprised if there's not. And then I'm not even sure if the code as such is exposed in all areas. So
Yeah. I think the answer is that it is protected, and I think probably this bridge thing, the I forget what you called it earlier. You didn't call it a bridge. Gateway, right? It's not a bridge. It's a gateway.
It's a gateway.
It's a gateway. We don't like bridges. Bridges are bad. So not that. So yeah. So this gateway thing, that is probably very protected as well. Would be my guess. Because I'm with you. I actually think that the whatever you call it, bridge gateway, Stargate, whatever you want to call it, it is the key to whether a layer 2 blockchain can succeed or not. It's probably more important than the blockchain itself. Just being able to move stuff back and forth seamlessly and securely and quickly, right? And I think the importance of that cannot be underestimated.
100%, and then having a third party and the layer 0 and everything will still operate on the network, but the gateway is the security layer to that, I believe. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter if layer 0 working as long as you've got the tokens being stored on the gateway. So I think that's the key to the tech. And as for other people sort of copying, I think it's who wins this race as well comes down to marketing. And what I'm really enjoying is seeing the marketing and the community building that's coming out of Sonic Labs. So we're starting to really see all of that hard work really sort of rock with things like the Sonic Gateway in itself. The more we talk about the gateway, the more it brings presence. This whole L2 killer narrative, which is sort of stemmed out of Sonic Labs, is another great part of the marketing, which I'm really enjoying seeing. They put together the meme season as well to sort of bring people in. There's a ton of rewards that have gone out over that to stimulate that side of the economy as well. So I think what they're doing is they're not afraid to try things. They're not afraid to say if they've made a mistake. They're not afraid to admit to the mistakes that they've made in the past. So I'm seeing all the things you want to see in a team, right? And that's what gives me confidence in Sonic. I go to like a conference and I chat to people and they're like, crazy, like this is crazy what's actually going on there. So people are really enjoying it. It's just about spreading the word, right? Like Twitter, I can't wait till it opens it up, and it sort of does throttle you a little bit. Like sometimes you think that everyone knows what's going on, and then you talk to someone like, "Oh, I hadn't heard about that." So it's there's so much information coming out these days on all of these blockchains, in all of these things. Like if you tell me about Sui, I'm missing that because that's in another silo as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's stuff that I'm not seeing. So it's about how I think who wins the race is how do you get in front of all the people as they roll through for this bull market.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm paying attention to. You cannot pay attention to everything. It's literally impossible, and I can't. I do my best to sort of deep dive on a number of things that are interesting, and I will go as pretty deep on the things that I think are interesting. I don't necessarily like them. I think they're interesting sometimes. Other times I do like them, right? So, and I do have a soft spot in my heart for Fantom and now Sonic. And I see what you see. I see Michael Kahn getting mouthy on X. So yeah, we're a Solana killer, right? I like that. I like the fact that he's not being timid about it. And I like the fact that Sonic does appear to be sort of on the attack marketing wise, whereas Fantom in the past is largely not. I think we've all been sort of bummed out that Fantom didn't market themselves better over the last 4 or 5 years. and so seeing this now is very heartening, right? So, so question for you, just to move us along a little bit. Do you know when Fantom, the FTM token, will actually officially switch over to S, and when we can say Sonic has fully launched? Do we have a date for that yet?
Okay, so November, December is what's slated there for the time to
November,
release
December is
Sonic.
what you said, right? Yes.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's November, December. That's Sonic release, the chain and the gateway, and everyone can deploy. S will be a two-way migration back and forward, I believe, from FTM to S, and there will be some arbitrage, I'm sure, all sorts of stuff that goes on there, and eventually stopping the transfer back. I'm not sure if it'll continue to, but we're talking about a period as well, right? So it might be 6 months, might be, I don't know exactly how long, but that's my understanding. So you'll have your FTM, there'll be your migration process, and then you'll have S on the other side. And when you've got that S token, I believe you can come back to FTM if you really wanted to. I'm not sure if people will want to do that, but I suppose that's probably to create that arbitrage opportunity so that that they will be the same for a period until they obviously cut it off. And then FTM will be sort of, off in the wind, and all the focus will be on Sonic as such. That's what I understand.
Yeah. Okay. So we will have to actually move our Fantom tokens over. We're gonna have to move out of the old haunted house and into the sleek, cool new Sonic pad, right? That's basically how it won't just sort of magically change overnight in our wallets. We'll actually have to do a move. Yeah.
No, and a good point too. I think people should be aware of that. And like you said, it's hard to keep up on all of it. So definitely in this period as we roll into Sonic, please be keeping an eye on what's happening on FTM and also the dApps on the chain, because we're going to see these migrations go on for everyone, right? Or depending whether if it's just a meme coin, then it's probably going to be like an OFT token created so that it then goes onto the other chain. But dApps like ours and PaintSwap and Beethoven and that, there's a lot more that's going to have to go on for us to migrate over, right? We're going to have to deploy natively on Sonic. Our contract bases have NFTs and tokens and voter contracts and all sorts of stuff, right? So there's a lot for us to move over to the new chain. So definitely keep an eye out on how all these migration plans are put forward from not only Sonic but also from the teams.
Yeah, I mean, right. So if I have some VE equal, I'll have to move that by hand also, right? Or I don't think that'll just move by itself.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll have to be migrated over. So we're coming up with our migration plan to put forward. We've also been waiting on information from Sonic as well, because it's a bit of a gated sort of tech and rollout, understandably. So we're working and devising how exactly our migration is going to work, as are all the other dApps. So that's what I'm saying. Keep an eye on it, because it's not a straightforward migration for ourselves as such, and also for some of these other dApps, because we're not just a token moving chains. We're effectively sort of taking like a financial NFT like V equal, and then we've got to get going on the new chain. So there's a lot to undergo there, so equal will not be moving to and fro from Sonic and Fantom. It's going to be like Fantom, in my opinion, and from most of the conversations, there's no need for Fantom after Sonic is released, right? It might do a little bit in the background, but there is a lot of upkeep in running a blockchain from like Chainlink and all of these tooling providers. There's fees to be paid. So if you think like in the crypto space, I believe you need to think realistically, and you also need to try and think of all of the possibilities, right? So when you think about something like Fantom and what's going on at the moment, there's no need to keep renewing the Chainlink license, right? You've got this new, faster with Ethereum access chain. Why would there be focus on the Fantom side? So I think that it's important to sort of understand what's going to happen to Fantom Opera and play the game accordingly, right? That's how the crypto space works, right?
Yeah, no, but there's going to be some diehards that are just like, that will never move out of the old creaky haunted house. They'll just be like, no, it's about Fantom Classic. This Sonic thing is like, they've sold their souls. We're gonna be here forever. It'll be another it'll be another, literally a ghost chain, but it'll still hang around, right? Like Ethereum Classic, or I don't know, Cardano, arguably, right? Like, or EOS, right? They're these things that just exist and like they never die. And even though nobody cares, right? Like, it's weird to me that it's amazing these things never die. Like, companies can go out of business, coins and chains never die. They hang around forever.
They just keep going, and some validator will continue to run, or
Yeah.
there'll be a network validated takeover, and it'll be the most centralized chain you've ever seen, and it may become a test net. Who knows exactly what will happen with Opera, but I know, going through the multi-chain incident and thinking that these multi-chain assets might, roll around,
Pop back to life.
months, either pop back to life or just have this arbitrage for and it died pretty quick. So I've seen in the past where, these things, they die off pretty quick. They don't die to nothing. As multi-chain is a good example. These USDCs sometimes pop back up, and they're always doing a little bit of volume. They don't stop.
Yeah.
They're
I'm like, who is buying this stuff, right? Like Luna. Like, sometimes they're like that. The old Luna coins are still hanging around, right? And they weirdly every once in a while pop up. I'm like, who would buy this? I have no idea who might even maybe buy this, right? Like, it's crazy to me. So let's say
they semi die. They never completely die, but they're on life support in the hospital, and
they become zombies. So, which would be a fitting end to the haunted house chain, to become a zombie in the end, right?
The zombie chain.
So, yeah, okay, all right. So, what other? We're coming up on the hour mark here, so we're gonna start wrapping up. But have you heard of any other really cool projects that are coming to Sonic that maybe most people out there don't know about?
Yeah, so from what I'm seeing, there's a bit of everything. Like, and the Sonic Boom program, I believe, has had a lot of applicants, which is fantastic to see. So what I'm seeing is, and again, I don't know exactly if I can say exactly who's coming or not, because there's a lot of talk. But I think you can think of all the major players are at least in conversation, and in a lot of regards have indicated that they will be launching on Sonic. So what I can see is everyone's coming. Like, you're going to see
so all the big boys of DeFi for sure, like Curve and Aave and Compound and whatever, all those guys.
Like we've seen other isolated lending markets. There's I think you'll see like Pendle type things. You're going to see lots of these liquid staking. So yeah, I think Beefy in their own sense have just created this CLM. So that'll definitely, I believe, be coming to Sonic as well. So look, I think you're going to see everyone is in conversations with Sonic Labs. The BD, as I said, it's like 400-500% more BDs at the moment. The Sonic Boom program is like a massive lead generator in itself. I think expect to see almost everything is my take. And I hope I'm right? Like, I can't wait to see a vibrant ecosystem where everyone is deployed, and you've got opportunity to do everything on chain at a really low cost in this new vibrant, layer 2 sort of competitor / L1, which is, top line tech, with the ability to move into other areas as well, where people can start to think of these other things, these other technology or these other use cases that high speed, reliable time to finality chains can assist with.
Yeah, no, I think I'm with you. I think Sonic is underestimated by most people, even still. So I ain't selling any of my Fantom. Or
I'm buying more, like
upcoming S.
I just got stopped out on one trade, but like I'm even like I'm going to leverage a bit here as well just to try that. Like, if we've ever seen anything in the past, right? Sometimes, hey, I can't even tell you that when Sonic releases that the token may not have a bit of a sell the news. But I do know one thing that has happened majority of the time when we've seen, a 2 to 3 month period, ramp up period, is things can get really, really out of hand, right?
Yes.
Because the hype can just send that token, knowing that it's the pre-sale to S. That it can just
Yes.
absolutely
Oh,
send
that's an
it. So
interesting
I'm
way to
like,
think of it. I didn't think of it. You're right, though. It is a pre-sale to S. Yes. Yep.
yeah, FTM is the pre-sale to S, so you have the opportunity to come in at these levels right now. If the only precursor that I put there is if the market doesn't play ball, then I think that we might.
All bets are off. Yeah. If there's a
You know
generalized
what I mean?
crash.
Like
Yeah.
I can't predict anything then. But if the market plays ball, FTM, in my opinion, is going to be one of the outperformers. I've seen some really good data showing where FTM sort of sits in that quadrant, and it's
Yeah.
right up there in the top right. People are saying that whales are accumulating. It's showing all the signs that FTM is going to be an outperformer up into the run of the release of Sonic. So I'm like push it over to next year, but just like the longer this goes, like the bigger we can get this run up. I think we could be seeing some ridiculous prices come the launch of Sonic, which then means that the gems are worth more. We get this huge amount of activity, and who knows what happens after that.
Yeah, well, then we have a crash. Hopefully not, but that's usually what happens. So, but I mean, there's always another crash coming, and there's always another bull run coming. That's the game we all play. That's called capitalism, and somehow it produces a world where we get Elvis and landing on the moon and Apple computers and AI and iPhones. This crazy game does seem to work and produce awesome civilizational benefits. So it's a little kooky, but it does seem to work. So I'm a fan in general.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, look, we've also seen. I was just looking at a chart last night that showed, Arbitrum had this huge run up, and then Base came along out of nowhere and started going like this, and then all of a sudden they crossed, and Base just started going crazy, and Arbitrum just went bloop into the crowd, right? Like it was like Arbitrum. If not for the grace of God, there go I, right? Arbitrum just looked at Base, and Base just drank its milkshake and vampired it into the dirt, from what I can tell. So directly. 100%. So I mean, Base seems to. I mean, obviously they have the Coinbase connection, but if you're looking at the premier EVM layer 2, I believe Sonic as the world's fastest EVM chain, which is remained actually decentralized with block finality within a second. I don't know what Base's statistics are. You might know that because I know you guys are deployed on Base also. But they would seem to be really the only big threat on the EVM side to Sonic. What do you think about Base compared to Sonic?
Yeah, so I think they both have their areas where they're at this point proven in as well. So Coinbase has a huge retail population. They're talking about bringing on the next billion users, right?
Yeah.
So they get from that perspective. I don't think that there's going to be a winner as per se. And Sonic's just going to overtake Base overnight. Like they just have the attention of the generalized user. What you tend to get on, like from what I see, there's very sophisticated users on Sonic that understand a lot of DeFi, and I think that's developing on Base. So we're seeing that it needs to like you bring these new users in, they do take time to come up to speed. But Base has got a lot of liquidity. A lot of liquidity's come through. Coinbase has a lot of liquidity themselves. There's the OP incentives, which shows what's the potential of Sonic with their incentives when they come out. So that they keep the builders moving. They keep people interested in the DApps. So at the end of the day, I think they're probably competing in two different sort of areas. I think Base will bring on a lot of corporates. They're talking about RWAs and stuff like that. That's sort of their niche where they're going to dominate in that area, right? Whereas I think Sonic's dominating in the tech area, and people go where incentives are. That there's different types of users, right? So Base are bringing them on, and you may see that some of those people may shuffle across when they see the incentives or they start to get deeper into the tech. But I think, there's that user that moves very fast. We'll see a lot of them come to Sonic, but they may not stick around, past that. But that's going to help really get that momentum. And I think that's where they're sort of going to really level the playing field out a bit more, is by getting that initial momentum and drawing in with all those new dApps, with all that new excitement, and then this really, really good UX with that Finality. The real tech heads, we're going to see them also gravitate when all the noise is around as well. So,
yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Do you know what basis transactions per second is?
I don't know exactly because they're always tweaking it, right? Because they've the blobs came out that made adjustments, and I think that adjusts also what they can upload as well. So it helps with transactions per second. Also, definitely help with the gas. So hey, if you want to touch on that, that is one thing we've seen. All right, like Sonic has this really, really low cost to transact, which is what attracts a lot of people and gives it like the opportunity to work in third world countries and that. And we're starting to see that from base to the layer twos like that. We're starting to see those transactions. Like, I don't know if you remember, but I remember doing transactions and paying like $1 on these L2s. And,
oh, hell, I paid way more than that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was absurd.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about like actually not making a transaction because it's going to cost me $1. Like, like with Equalizer, you need to vote, you need to claim your rewards, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to extend your locks. And sometimes I was looking at it going, do I need to do that transaction? Nah, all right, I won't do that one. Whereas when it's less than a cent, you're like, I'll do an extra transaction for fun.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see that all transaction costs are coming down on base. I think Fantom's still a little bit lower there. But that's the attractiveness that allows for adoption in this space where like I'm amazed at how many people from, countries of a lower socioeconomic area or whatever that are so invested in these types of systems, right? And using the chain. You'll be amazed, like the Australians, they're going to work every day, right? Whereas these other guys, like, and I know like in Argentina and stuff like that, it's almost like operating their economy is like working in DeFi. So it's not that far for them to move, right? And to know that their currency, had 300% inflation, it makes sense to maybe have a little bit in at least stable coins or Bitcoin and operate, in a system outside of where the banks might seize your money or something like that.
Yeah, Tether on Tron has become the a giant hit worldwide. Like, surprisingly, I wouldn't have guessed Tron would have had that kind of juice. But just like at the end of 2023, I was reading a report from Ryan Salkis of Masari, and he's basically saying, yeah, the numbers are just enormous. And why is it on Tron? I don't know, but Justin Sun clearly marketed it well.
They have. It's not like it's like an easy chain to get to. So like that's what amazes me. Tron in itself is a bit isolated with not a huge amount going on other than so much USDT transactions. So let's get them into using Sonic and stuff like that. I think that is a huge opportunity in the world out there. And I know that in some other countries like and I'm using Argentina as an example, but they use Gnosis chain because it's cheap to transact on and blah blah. So, these little use cases, no one uses Gnosis chain, but they seem to use it over there in Argentina and stuff like that, right? So.
All right, Blake, we're past the hour, so let's wrap up. Where can people find you online and where are your websites and all that stuff?
Yeah, so equalizer.exchange, and that's the easiest way to then find our Discord. You can find our Twitter is Equalizer0x, so that's the handle. Find us on Twitter. You can find us on CoinGecko and, reach out. We're always happy to have a chat. We're looking for new community members at all times. And we do a lot of DeFi education. So if that's what you want to learn about, you want to know more about Sonic, then join our community. It's, we're all there to help.
Cool. Well, thank you, Mr. Hoopa. Mr. Hoopa, what's that from? It's from Jaws, I think, right? Mr. Hoopa. Sorry, I couldn't resist getting one in. Anyway, my name is Mark Jeffrey. This has been Hash Rate. We'll see y'all next time.
See you, mate.